everyone. Most of you have put up for me for the semester up until this point, but in case you don't know me, my name is Shauna Castle, and I have been interning at Body and Soul for the past 3 months or so. Body and Soul is a charity that was created in 1996 due to the lack of family-oriented HIV support in the UK. It aims to provide a safe and supportive environment for members so they're able to reduce isolation and stress, improve their health and well-being, resume active lives, share experiences that they've had with the disease, and get support. It's support for children, young adults, anyone who's either HIV positive or just affected by the disease. There are about over 86,000 people living in the UK that have HIV. It's the highest percentage of people in the European Union. It continues to rise, and there's still no cure. Body and Soul offers comfort, protection from prejudice and stigma, a sense of belonging, and a place to connect with others that are going through the same things, and the idea that they can be themselves without any judgment. In order to understand Body and Soul, I feel like the building is a really large part of it, just because it's unlike any building I've ever been in. Go through the floors. I hope Jed doesn't miss me on this one. The top floor, you can actually go to the next slide. The top floor is where the program I worked in was Teen Spirit, and at the beginning of Teen Spirit every week they would have group time on the top floor. I'll get more into Teen Spirit in a little bit. But they would meet there and just meet up with their friends that they've made through the program. They would also get served dinner and pretty much just catch up from last week. This is the well-being room where you could schedule different types of therapies like massages, counseling therapies, and there's also a lot of information on HIV, the medication, the side effects of the medication, keeping yourself well, good stuff. And this is the basement, or the teen area, which is, there's a recording studio, there is a drum set, which I've become I'm very knowledgeable on putting together a drum set after my work at the program. And there's just a room where they can study. There's lots of different textbooks and stuff for resources. My job at Body and Soul was I was a Teen Spirit intern, which meant I did anything from setting up for the activities. I would help with ideas for workshops. I would help get props for workshops. I was running up and down the building pretty much every single Wednesday and Thursday. But Teen Spirit is the first program in the UK that recognizes teens living with HIV. It's for those that feel different and they're sick of not being able to talk about the problems that they're going through, either being affected by it themselves or being really close to someone that is affected by it. Adolescence is a time that's hard for everyone, and being affected by HIV only adds more tension due to the stigma, the side effects of medication, the fact that they might be the caretaker in their home, the responsibilities, the fear of what comes next. And Teen Spirit is just like this really awesome thing that starts around 5:30 and goes till about 9 every Thursday night. We come in, they're served dinner, they can catch up with volunteers on how they're doing, how school is going, how their week has been. They get to participate and they get to have their choice of workshop. And while I've been there, I've seen everything from an musical that they're putting on. All the teens wrote the script, they wrote the songs, and it's being like produced by Paramount. They're putting the set together, so it's really cool. And there's workshops on well-being. Like I've seen one that was pregnancy and HIV, so they could, for the future, if they're looking to start a family, they know what their options are and how to make sure that their child is as safe as possible. And there's also, a lot of stuff with music. There's a recording studio, like I said. There's instruments. Yeah, it's just really cool. But most importantly, the most important thing about Teen Spirit is that they have the ability to come in and talk to people that know exactly what they're going through. They understand where they're coming from. They're not going to be judged. They get to talk to people like the volunteers, even if they're not HIV positive. They are really good at helping people through what they're going through. And the only way I can really describe it is the first time I went to Teen Spirit was I had been doing all these different kinds of activities for it, and it just didn't make sense to me. And then the first time I went, everything just kind of made sense. The optimism and the hopefulness through everyone there was just amazing, and it just kind of clicked in my head what everyone was there for, and just what an honestly wonderful program that it is. So it's my thoughts on Teen Spirit. Launchpad is a workshop that runs at Teen Spirit every week. It's aimed to help teens with homework, studying, working with their CVs or resumes, because I didn't know what that was when I first started working there, looking for jobs and more. Like I said, adolescence is such a rough time, and being HIV positive adds to that, but also these are really critical years for an education, and if you're worried about stuff like stigma, rejection, the side effects of your HIV medications, disclosure, like whether people are going to find out about your illness or not, the loss of your loved ones, it becomes even more difficult. And during about the time that throughout my time at Body and Soul, they were looking to renovate the Launchpad program because tutors were not always able to come in. Like sometimes it would just be a volunteer that didn't necessarily have a background in education, and they were just kind of sitting with the teens as they went over their homework. They didn't really know what exactly was going on. They're not always willing to participate. Sometimes there's a more exciting workshop like, oh, I don't want to do my homework. I'd rather go play drums in the basement or something that's a bit more appealing. It's unknown what exactly the abilities of the teens are. You don't know where they are in the spectrum. You don't know if English is their first language. You don't know what's being spoken at home. You don't know what kind of help they're getting in school, what kind of help they're getting at the home. And it's not really clear what goals you want the teens to accomplish, or they want to accomplish for themselves. So trying to figure out where we should go next. I kind of started with resources, but in all fairness, it was one of the activities I was asked to do one of my times there. Roz, who's not here today, asked me to come up with some websites because she explained to me that sometimes a tutor can't come in and it has to be a volunteer. So I researched a whole bunch of websites that either had games, a lot of helpful tips, discussion boards where you could ask questions and have them answered by your peers. I also went down into the basement and saw there's a whole bunch of workbooks that gave help with exam prep and their homework as well. I looked up tips to ease studying, just to make it easier, like things they should do, how to get rid of distractions, like that. And I also looked up information on how to write a proper CV because I have no idea how to write a resume, so I figured everyone needs a little help in that department. But I also wanted to find out what direction the teens themselves wanted to go through because it's really about them. On April 7th, there was this really great program at Teen Spirit called Launch Yourself Evening, where all the teens were able to talk to a bunch of professionals from a large number of careers in order to it was kind of a networking event where they could meet people in career paths that they might want to go down. Like there was lawyers, there was doctors, there was some people in fashion, there was people in music. And so I decided to hand out a survey asking them what directions they would like to go in. So some of the questions I asked were the first language, whether or not English is their first language and which language they spoke at home, the age and what year of school they were in, whether or not they take vocational courses, where they go for homework help, whether it be their teacher, their parents, their older siblings themselves, Launchpad, Body and Soul, the goals for the term they'd like to work on, and where they see themselves in the future. So basically I was trying to figure out what specific things they wanted out of the program in order to start off the changes with that. The results, many teens were not attending Launchpad, which I talked to some of the teens when they were actually there, and they were all really willing to do it, but it was only like a few people every time. Everyone that I talked to said that they got a lot more work done when they were there than opposed to when they were at home, but more people just weren't coming. They had a lot of different goals. Most of them had to do with exam prep and overall marks, but it makes sense because the large number of people that I happened to have surveyed were in years 8 and 9 and also in the beginning stages of college. So they were looking to prepare for their GCSEs and their A-levels, which are exams. They also wanted help. What I found was interesting is that even though a lot of people were going to teachers, parents, siblings, and figuring out themselves, they still wanted a lot of help with exam prep, organization, time management, revision skills, and working on their CV. So a lot of the things they were asking for help on, you wouldn't necessarily get in the classroom or at home. It was stuff you don't think of. Like when you need to study and get good grades in an exam, you need to know how to manage your time well so you have time to do your other homework as well as focus on the exams that you're taking. So that's pretty much what the results I got from that survey. So what does this mean? What I gathered from it is that in order to get more people to start coming to Launchpad and to start accessing this great resource that they have there, it would be a good idea to make not necessarily more interesting programs, but different programs. Like I said, time management, working on organization, specified things that have to do with exams or career counseling, preparation for GCSEs and A-levels, CV workshops and internships, much like the Launch Yourself evening, and more revising skills. But one thing I did notice, which is one thing that actually changed before I leave, was the literacy test. While I was going through the surveys, some people expressed a want to enhance their reading skills. So they were already doing literacy tests at the time. So I gave a list of the people that wanted to work on their reading skills to Roz, so she knew who to test and see where they were to see what kind of help they needed. So I think that the Launchpad program is definitely, it's very hopeful that it's going to go into the right direction, just because it's through such a great program and so many kids that are really willing to learn. They want to make the best out of their education, and so I think that Launchpad will definitely be launched in the right direction. Thank you. Oh, and I just want to thank Jed so much for coming today, and Roz, who couldn't be here, for making my experience at Body and Soul really great. It was wonderful, and it was just such a great group of people, and I couldn't have been happier. So thank you.